Welcome to Dungeons and Dragons and Dummies, a weekly podcast following a group of friends as they battle across a homebrewed world called Antiriath in Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. Step into the mystical world of Antiriath and follow as our party of dummies adventure across the lands. Tolly Grug, half orc, half fighter, the Mystery, played by Taylor. The Eclarian Shadow, half elf ranger from the Eclarian Mountains, played by Seth. And a Learlock Bloodhair, a Harengon cleric, played by Joey. Last but not least, the creator of our beautiful world, the man of many voices, and our dungeon master, Sam. Welcome back
I don't like that. What is that?
to us. I just made it up.
That was just a melody you made up?
Yep.
I don't like that you used.
Welcome back.
Oh my god, that was even worse. What are you doing?
Welcome
Use some
back.
freaking major keys for the love of all that's holy.
No.
Just all minor, all day.
Yep.
Depressing. Oh man.
All right, let's roll up these.
Okay.
Pageables.
Well, hold on. First off,
No, never.
we gotta start.
Stopped him in his tracks.
So, I forgot to say it last time. So, for all of you listening at home, did a little maths in between sessiones, and these fine gentlemen who joined me here today leveled up their characters. I was gonna say that they leveled up, but y'all didn't actually level up. Your characters
we did.
Both.
I level up every day.
So, step one, we gotta roll up that HP Sizzle Whizzle. McDizzle.
For shizzles.
So we're just gonna go across the order that I have them in my spreadsheet here. So, Mr. Shadow, let's
Mr.
roll.
Shadow.
Is there a way to just like roll a die random?
Mr. Shadow was his father. Shadow's fine.
Please, Shadow's fine. We need to each roll you a God, I hate that. We need to each roll you a D8. I'm gonna roll mine in the D&D Beyond. I'm feeling digital today.
Let's get digital.
Oh, I rolled a 2. You need to do better than that.
I don't like that.
Uh-oh.
Give me something good. What'd you roll?
Roll high.
Oh,
Fucked by the dice gods.
2.
Yep, so pretty much just shitty as last time.
No, last time you got a 7.
Oh.
This is the other campaign that you rolled real shitty in. Alright. Yeah, Taylor got a 1 last time on his piddly little D6. Alright.
My turn?
Yeah. I rolled a 4 for you. Okay, so you got something decent.
Okay. Come on. 3. Okay, so 4.
Alright, 4. Okay, and then a Learlock. I'm rolling a D8. Oh, got you a 7. Can you get the perfect Ocho? Can you ESPN 8 us?
What? Did you
ESPN 8, the Ocho.
ESPN 8, the Ocho.
7 it is.
You got a 5.
There we go. Okay. So y'all are level 9 now. So these are your new HP. So Shadow, you should be sitting at 77 after applying your dice. Talik, you should be sitting at 81, and a Learlock, you should be sitting at 79.
Damn, son.
Look at these rolls: 8, 7, 7, 7, 5, 8, 8, 4, 7. The rolls are helping you out on the average.
All right. I need a recap.
Time for
Did y'all want me to do a recap?
I would love that. That would be
Would love it as well, my good
be
gentle
so
sir.
delightful, if you will.
That would be absolutely divine.
In the previous session, it was the 34th of Harvest, around 2:30 p.m., when the party is approaching the giant relic sloth that is dead, blocking our path. At which point, the enemy, which were some creatures, popped up and surprised us and got a surprise round. And when they did that, Talik and Pontor got caught by the stabby, burrowing, evil, psycho, sleep paralysis demon creatures. That's what my notes say. At which point,
Accurate.
a battle ensued. I have all caps word chaos. Ultimately, we killed the Kruthiks, or whatever they were, and the acid vultures swoop in to take the kills. It was a pretty bizarre battle. Shadow kind of stood around in the middle, just slinging arrows at everything, and Talik went toe to toe with some of the demon creatures. They weren't actually demons; they're just scary. And out of all of that, and the relic sloth, and all the commotion and nonsense, we got 2 acid stones, 4 earth stones, and 13 sloth claws.
Yeah, y'all rolled beast on the sloth claws. Have y'all looked at what those can be brewed into?
Yeah, I don't know how, but
I
yeah.
don't know that I have. Sloth claws, got a bunch of them. I don't know how many toenails that thing had, but at that point the party healed up and continued forward to the forest that Pontor had told us about. At which point we see that the forest has pretty much burned down. It's just a smoldering ruin of a forest. And we run into a lizard fella named Ze'ekfrai, and he was holding a little charred mushroom thing in his hands, and he says that Baron Shunfire burned down the forest, which we're just kind of like, yeah, that don't make no sense. And he says he's a shaman and a palm reader that lives near Okerjest. We had some conversation back and forth with Pontor and determined that there are some caves with bats in them, because we think that they could be the flaming bats that we've encountered previously that burned down Heathertone, or whatever that place was called.
Yeah, Heathertone.
Pontor says the fire moved west to east, which means it came from the Eclarian Mountains.
But just to add, that makes me, and I think we said, we don't necessarily think that it would have been the Baron then, because it would have started here and gone north. I mean, right? I mean, most logically.
Yeah, I mean,
Who knows at this point, but that made us a little hesitant to believe his claim that it was the Baron of Okerjest that started it.
yeah, there's nothing to gain there that we're aware of. So scanning the edges of the cliff sides above the Valley of Cinders, we spot some of the Rocky Boys, and they just do a little crumble move and slides the Morts to their death, which is kind of brutal. At which point, Alirlock goes full super cleric and tries to bring one of them back to life. And the head Rocky Boy comes down and scrapes his face out of the stone wall and starts chit-chatting with the Learlock and Sylvan. At which point, after some back and forth, the Learlock does some amazing convincing, and he says he's going to take us to see their king. Whoever, whatever, wherever that may be is unknown.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know how well I described these guys. They're very small. So like the Dirtles are pretty big. They're like large sized creatures. And so they're good size. And they've got like these little like turrets on top of their shells, for lack of a better word. It almost looks like a little crenellated tower is how their shell is. And so the little stalagmite guys, that's their name, Stalagnite with a K, it's adorable, are sitting inside of this little turret on the back of these guys with their spears and their little shields. But they're like 2.5 feet tall. They're little rotund rock guys. And those guys you haven't heard speak in any language that any of you can understand. Only the magical kind of shamany one has spoken.
Crystal beard guy with the crystal staff.
Beard guy. Yep. And he actually has a little bit of like loose cloth draped around his body. Okay, so yeah, he said they're gonna take y'all to the king, and that's what we will pick up. I'm gonna jump right into the RP as Ze'ekfrai has kind of walked up behind you guys at this point, and he says, "This seems like a fascinating path, but one for you all to tread. However, you all seem an incredible lot. I would love it if you would visit me in Okerjest, that I might read your palms and see your fortunes, and offer you whatever little knowledge or aid I might be able to."
Sure.
And he'll just kind of head back towards the carcass that you guys climbed over to get into this place.
Yeah, Shadow doesn't say anything to him because he's super creeped out by the dude. He's like, I swear that guy just wants to touch the bottom of Learlock's feet.
Just because he's got a creepy lizard voice, are you being lizard racist?
No, it's because he wants to touch everybody.
Oh, he's a real toucher.
I think Talik's a little suspicious of him just after the druid, our interactions with the druid and Zaius, and just the fact that he was there when we found the burned forest. I'm a little suspicious of him. I just kind of side-eye him and let him walk off.
So he just solemnly, slowly walks off. The crystal beard elemental guy will say in Sylvan that y'all should follow him, and he will begin walking off towards the kind of westward in this direction.
He's tiny.
Yeah. The two like Dirtle stalagmite guys will just stay where they're at and kind of shift a little bit as if they plan to follow you guys as like escorts. What are you guys doing with this orc that you stabilized? So in 1d4 hours he'll recover a hit point.
Oh, so he's just chilling?
He's unconscious, right? Because you used spare the dying.
Yeah. So I would hate to just, stabilize him and leave him. So I will bend down and cast a cure wounds on him.
Okay.
And assume that will bring him to consciousness.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What level 1 cure wounds is 10 hit points?
Oh yeah, I just rolled for it, but yeah, 8, 3, 11.
Yeah, he'll wake up. Just lets out a orcish curse, and he looks up at you, and immediately starts like grasping around for a weapon.
Talk to this guy.
Yeah, I'll jump in front of a Learlock and be like, hey, easy there, brother. We just saved your life in Orcish.
He's kind of bleary-eyed. He grabs onto your forearm real tight and like kind of leans forward to stare at you. He's like, what the hell happened? We were just looking at you from the ridge a moment ago. And then, and he looks up. He sees the dirtles on either side of him. He's like, oh, these little monsters. He kind of scrambles up to a seated position.
I'd like to kind of brandish my sword and just say to him in Orcish, like, now's not the time to fight. We saved you, and if you know what's best for you, you'll go back to where you came from and make Zim.
Yeah, make me an intimidation check.
Okay. Just saving him for his own good, basically.
Right.
Oh man, 23.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he looks around at his situation. It's pretty dire already, and then you seem pretty serious about your claim, and so he takes a deep huff and swallows his orcish pride. Just nods. He doesn't say anything. He just nods, and kind of sits there holding himself and checking himself out. He grabs his nuts and spits.
Toss him like a bite to eat or something that I've got on me, like a little something, just as kind of a show of good faith, and then turn like we're gonna leave.
He'll take it and tuck it into his pocket.
Okay, after you, Learlock, lead the way.
I just follow up behind the little rock man.
Okay.
Did we get his name?
I don't think so. while we're walking, I'll just try to start the walk and talk conversation. So what's your name?
My name in Terran is not something that your throat could speak, but in Sylvan, I am known as Elder.
His name's Elder.
I'll ride in the back, closest to these turtles. I'm a little unsure of them.
Kind of like riding in between them. Keep an option to unflank if you need to. So they take you down a nearby valley off to the west here, kind of wiggling through the valley, and you come out to another open. What would I call this? Just a wide spot in the valley, big wide spot in the valley. Yeah, but he hugs close to the wall as y'all go around. You walk maybe 20, 30 minutes or so, not a far ways, and you come to a corner deep up into a valley, a little dead end, as it were, and he walks all the way up to the dead end in the stone, and he just waves his crystal wand to the right and waves his crystal wand to the left, and the stone actually begins to open up and split a crack down the middle, and it slowly opens like an eyelid opening as it gets a little bit more round on the edges and separates out, revealing a passageway.
Cool.
And he actually takes a couple steps in. He motions back to you and tells you and Sylvan to wait here for a moment. And he takes a few steps in, and then it only takes a couple seconds. He takes a few steps out and pokes his head back out and waves you on in and says, "Follow me. And don't touch any of the crystals."
Understood. Let's go.
I'll leave my horse Revenge out here and pat it on the back to meld into the stone.
Funny, because when you do that, one of the Dirtles and his rider meld into the stone on the side with you.
Like, looks like you made some new friends, Revenge.
So as you guys enter, you see a very different landscape than most of what you've been seeing. So, Seth, are you bringing Starlight into the cave? The entrance is about 8 feet tall, so Starlight could definitely come in, but you'd need to dismount him to do so.
Dismount him?
Yeah, you think you can sit on top of a horse and not hit your head in an 8-foot roof?
Dismount complete.
Okay, so let me describe what y'all see as you come in here. So very different from the rest of the valley that you've been seeing. It's been very arid everywhere else in the valley except for maybe the hot springs. But even there, the ground was craggy. There was just like moss on it and stuff. As you enter into this cave, it has a glow from all around the cave from a combination of bioluminescent lichen and moss and glowing crystals, mostly purple and blue with a few green crystals scattered here and there, that lights up the entire room and bathes this cave that y'all have entered in a bright light. You can fully see within here, and standing all around at different levels of extraction from the ground are several little simple dirt clawed creatures poking their head out of the ground, some of them standing up, several dirtles with knights mounted on top of the dirtles stand around the perimeter of the room. As you guys walk in, they don't sink into the ground at all. They're trying to put on a strong posture. And as you round the corner into the main chamber here, you see on the opposite side of the room, probably 100 feet away or so, a large stone throne, and sitting on top of it is this giant rotund earth elemental with a big crown encrusted in jewels, and like jewels on all of his fingers as rings, and he's not wearing any clothes, but he does have like draped around his neck these big ornate necklaces with shining gems settled into them. And standing on either side of him are two more of the guys with crystal beards and robes on them. Your little buddy who has walked you in here leads you guys closer to the king. When you'll get about 20-30 feet away, there's kind of a dip down into the king's chamber, so y'all are actually kind of on level with where he's sitting on his throne, standing on this. And he stops there, and he speaks in the Terran language, so you can't understand what he's saying. He just rumbles this guttural cry. He kind of shakes the ground and rumbles the pebbles leading over to the king. The king sits for a moment. You can see he's just got these, they're really eye sockets. He doesn't even have eyes in his head. They're just eye sockets, but he looks to each one of you one at a time and rumbles back out. He says, your new buddy, Elder, turns to you and he says, the king wants to know why you have come to the Valley of Cinders.
I poke Shadow in the side. I'm like, are y'all seeing this shit, or did I take one of those mushrooms from the fish people?
I look back at my compatriots and I ask, so why do we what do we tell him about why we're here?
Tell him the truth of why we were sent, but let him know that we don't want to kill those Aurochs. We just want to figure out how to help them and help everybody else and stop what's causing this.
Exactly. Yeah. We want to get rid of these mutated creatures like I'm sure they do.
Oh, like I thought you'd throw all those mushrooms away.
Well, you know, I gotta have a backup stash.
Oh my gosh.
I look back towards Elder and I say, our purpose is, as we discussed, we wish to clear the rot from the land. We don't wish harm upon anyone here.
The Elder relays what you said. Make me a persuasion check. Learlock, since you're the one doing the talking.
Oh boy. Yikes. 2.
2's the total. Okay.
And that one.
He rumbles a little bit, and he lifts up a hand, and
Jesus.
the ground shakes, and up surfacing onto the ground, almost like if you've ever seen like a vibration bowl with sand in it, palm-sized rocks lift up to the top of the ground, and then columns of stone raise them up and slide across the room up in front of you. And there's 4 of them there, and each of them has a different colored, smooth, oval, palm-sized stone in it. And they're each a different color, but they're dull and lifeless. There's a red one, a gray one, a green one, and a yellow one. And he says, well, he doesn't say this, it gets translated by Elder, but for sake of the time and everyone's energy, the very soil has been tainted, and it affects the beasts as well. Our kind have been fortunate enough not to be changed, but the beasts suffer. What is your plan to cleanse our home?
Do those stones look familiar to the ones that we've seen before?
Yeah, it's the same ones that you were talking with Baron Shunfire's assistant with, that he was showing you.
Okay. The wizard,
you found a few of them in the valley so far. It's the same type that you spotted inside of the lava ooze, and and y'all have found more of them on your quests previously.
Right.
They look like elemental stones, but they're all dull.
Might do us a favor if you guys pull out a couple of those stones, show them that we're also working on clearing the rot.
Okay, yeah, I'll reach into the bag of holding and pull out what I've got. Maybe even if they're dead ones.
Okay, so you pull out a few of them. Do you pull out like all the ones you have, or just a couple, or?
I mean, we've got a bunch, right? I feel like it would make the best show to pull out as many as we've got and show them that we've been working on it.
As they're pulling these out, I say to Elder, we're very capable of taking care of these creatures. We don't want this to spread just as much as you do. And I kind of gesture towards the stones.
Taylor, make me a help persuasion check.
Okay.
To see if you give
Just
a little
from
luck
pulling
advantage.
everything out. Okay.
Yeah. For what the kind of voiceless
Oh my god.
work that you're doing.
6.
Okay, so you don't get advantage, Alirlock, but I'll take into account, the actions with your roll.
Oh boy. This is an additional persuasion check to the one I made a second ago?
Yes, yeah. So I didn't
okay.
tell you guys, we've essentially entered into a skill challenge with this
Gotcha.
conversation. Y'all are there. He has a certain tolerance to how many failures you can get, and you're looking for like a certain number of successes in order to be able to persuade him to whatever it is that you're trying to persuade him to.
Gotcha.
So it's a little bit role play, a little bit mechanics. All right, what's your roll?
It's the same bonus. 19. I accidentally clicked performance, but it's the same thing.
Okay, yeah, 19. Okay, yeah, that's a success. So he rumbles and he kind of like lets out just like a low rumble at first, and then it gets a little bit rhythmic, and you realize it's a chuckle because several of the other people around here begin to chuckle, and Eldar looks at y'all and lets kind of his weird toothless hole in his middle of his face that represents his mouth kind of turns up on the ends. He says, "The king is amused that you plan to carry all of the tainted rocks out of the valley for us."
What? What'd he say, Ears? Why are they laughing?
They appear to be amused that we're carrying all these rocks around.
Oh yeah. Well, have they ever tried to throw one of the shiny ones at somebody? Hey, ask him about the Aurochs.
What have you noticed about the Aurochs? They seem to be disturbed.
Elder's face kind of gets a little less amused. He relays it to the king. The king says, "The Aurochs are flesh beasts, not from this valley. They lived somewhere else and came along with the plague. I do not know if they were stricken before coming or after."
I see. And I relay that information.
Ask him if he wants us to kill them all.
No. No. Ask him what direction they first came from. Where was the first part in the cinder that they saw? North, south, east, west?
From what direction did they come
Stop trying
from?
to kill everything.
Elder actually doesn't even relay that to the king. He actually turns and speaks Terran to the night guy that's kind of behind y'all, this guy over here, who takes a few steps up on his dirtle and hops off and relays back to Eldar something. He says that his scouts report the Aurochs came in from the north, as did many other beasts, fleeing one of the four.
Me, the player, doesn't have a good sense of cardinal direction in this map. Is that beyond the forest?
The forest is
The
north
north
of the Valley of Cinders.
Okay. So do you relay all that, Shadow?
Yes, I relay that information.
Okay. Okay, Ears. One of the four, he says, I have a bad feeling about this.
Make me a history check or an arcana check.
15.
15. You would know that he is not referring to a entity in particular, he is referring to the 4 elements: earth, wind, water, and fire.
They came from one of the 4.
Weird.
So ask him. Did they ask him if they came out of the forest when it was a fire?
Looking back and forth, translating the conversation as the intermediary of the group.
Yeah.
I look back towards the Dirtle Rider and the Eldar, and I ask, did these beasts come from beyond the forest, or come from the forest when it was on fire? And did you see who set it on fire, if in fact?
The Dirtle Rider actually speaks in very simple Sylvan and says, "Great flame, many soft, all enter our valley."
It seems to be the case, Shadow.
Okay. How about this, guys?
Mhm.
Don't tell them this yet, ears. But here's what I think we need to do. I think we need to get these guys and their dirtles and their ability to pass through walls and stuff to help us corral the Aurochs back north out of the valley. The fire's out in the forest. We'll run them into what used to be the forest and beyond. And if we spook them bad enough, they'll just keep on running north. And then from there, we got to figure out where all this started from. And if the fire spread west to east and push these creatures down into the valley, then I think we got to get these Aurochs run up out of the valley, regain peace with the elementals here, and then head west to figure out where the fire started.
Yep, I think so too. And I think that will keep these guys happy, and we can go back to Baron Shunfire and collect our bounty because we've cleared the valley. But make sure you tell this king that we're looking for the answer for the whole problem, not just here in the valley, and maybe we'll get some bonus points.
Yeah, because it would be real helpful if these fellas could help us. You saw how they were mushing along those Aurochs. That's what we need their help doing that. Let's send them out north, because
With their help, we should be able to run every creature out in this valley out.
they keep sending them down into Okradrest, and then Okradrest sends them back up into the valley. We need to run them the other way.
Okay.
Let make Zim deal with them.
I look at Eldar and say, "You asked how we plan to cleanse the land of the rot. Well, I think we first need to work together to drive the Aurochs from the valley back through into the forest and beyond, and then from there we can search out the source of the rot."
Eldar relays all this. I assume it takes a while to get all this conversation through, and finally Eldar responds. He says, "Your plan for removing the soft life does not help us in the poisoning of our earth with these stones. What promise do we have that you will help us clean our home, not just of these uninvited guests, but of the affliction?"
Do we have? I reach over to the other guys after Lyrlock translates. Do we have some kind of proof from the druid that we killed the druid? I mean, do we have something of his that we can show this guy?
Your buddy didn't run off with it, did he?
Might have.
Let's think for a second here. I don't know. I have these rocks that are not like all the other rocks, and I don't know what they're gonna think about them. But this sunstone has become my most prized possession that I own. I will leave it as a promise that I intend to clear the corruption from their earth, because I don't want you to have to relay the whole thing, but tell them we've been fighting this for months. We started this months ago, and we've already taken down one of the culprits, and we've seen another one, and we intend to pursue him.
Man, the Learlock is such a bad character to be relaying this because he's not had the experience. even trying to keep up with all the details in character, that's
Right.
a lot.
What makes it great?
It makes it realistic because you weren't there. I don't think we have any kind of like we didn't chop off the druid's antler hat or any, we don't have. I guess he wouldn't know. Anyways, but we need to prove to this guy that we've done this mission that we're on.
I'm looking at my inventory to see if I have anything relevant.
Shadow pulls out the sunstone and holds it in his hand and has got a side eye towards the king to see if there's any reaction from the king or anyone else.
The king eyes it from across the room and points at it, and
Oh shit!
Elder steps over and takes it out of your hand.
I give
Not
it.
aggressively, but takes it.
Yep.
And one of those that had the soft stones on it, the other ones have settled down into the ground now, and the stones disappeared into the ground. But another one raises up, he sets the stone on it, and it slides across the room over to the king and kind of lifts up in front of him. And he's not moved this entire time, but he kind of leans his whole body forward to where he's closer to the stone. And he looks at it for a second, and then he leans it back. He leans back and it slides back across. Eldar takes it off and walks it back and hands it to you. And he says, "You are friend to earth, sky, water, and fire."
I'll just look back and say, "You did it."
So Shadow will kneel in reverence and ask Learlock to kneel down and humbly ask assistance, moving the Aurochs out of the valley so that we can continue on our journey to identify the problem and solve it for everyone.
I'll kneel.
I also kneel and I speak to Eldar and once again repeat my request.
Shadow and a Learlock, y'all both make me a persuasion with advantage.
Hell yeah. That was awesome.
We each have advantage?
Yeah, you both have advantage.
23.
Nice.
13.
Okay, so the king rumbles out a loud rumble that at first seems a little bit uneasy, but then it starts to go into that rhythmic harmony, and several of the little clawed guys that were half buried come all the way up to full uncovered, and Eldar turns to you. He says, "We will send our troops with you to help rid the valley." And everybody starts to rumble around the valley, and the whole thing becomes like a chorus, but it's harmonic. It's oscillating with the whole room, and it becomes almost a song of just bass. It's just bass noises just thrumming in this place in a celebratory song that they're echoing to you.
Sick.
Awesome.
After it settles down, Eldar bows to the king and says, "Come, we can discuss preparations outside."
Let's follow the man.
He turns to lead you guys out.
Heck yeah.
That was awesome.
We really like these Earth Kings in these caves.
We're like diplomats. Gold. The
kobolds.
Find out what happens to our party next week. Check us out at dndndummies.com. And please leave us a rating and a review on your podcast app. It would mean the world to us.
Is that guy's name Pantor or Pontor?
The orc?
Pawn. Or pawn something.
Pontor? Ponter? Pontor?
I don't know. There was an apostrophe in it.
I think it was Pontor.
I never saw it written. I just got a little bitty tiny scribble in here.
PON''TOR. Pontor.
Okay.
Nice, strong, orcish name.
Dalek needs an apostrophe. They didn't give him an apostrophe when they named him because he's only a halfie.
T-A apostrophe luck.
L-U-K. Yeah.
L-U-K.
Just take out the one L.
Take out the extra L.
Because he's a halfie, he didn't earn his apostrophe.